Mr. Martin, I don't see the boardroom.
Mr. Perez is not on yet.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pettis, can you hear me?
I can, Dr. Guy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we got volume now. We were
All right,
muted.
thank you.
We were muted and couldn't get out. So they're concerned about, then the hospital beds are full. So they're concerned.
You ever get that call from that Kilby lady?
I got a call from KOB, yeah, I did.
And she said that she called me.
She wanted to know,
Mr. Perez,
yes, sir.
there's conversation going on. The meeting hasn't started, so we need to be careful about what we're talking about. Mr. Perez, I'm ready to begin the meeting.
5:26.
Are we ready?
We still got a couple minutes, Dr. Guy.
All right.
Just trying to rush us. Five 29. 5:30. Okay. Fine. Okay, okay,
I
Dr.
can hear you
Guy.
now.
Okay, Dr. Guy, we're ready to go. Now he's not ready. Suspicious.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
All right, let's stand.
Yes, sir.
Pledge of allegiance. Mr. Ortiz, would you lead the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag. Everybody, everybody.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Emily, please call the roll.
Dr. Guy Archambault,
Here.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Here.
Ron Ortiz,
Here,
Richard Jones,
I'm here.
Dion Sandoval. Dion Sandoval,
All right. We have a quorum. Thank you, Richard and Ron and Emily. I'm sure that Mr. Sandoval will make every effort to make it. Adoption of agenda. Mr. Perez, is there any recommendations for changes or any board members?
Mr. President, I recommend that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Is there a motion? Okay, louder. Can't hear you.
So moved.
That's better. All right, is there a second?
I'll take it.
That's good. Motion made by Emily Hunt Daly, seconded by Ron Ortiz to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Motion carries. Adoption of the minutes for November 3, 2020. Are there any changes to the minutes? I'm going to give you a few minutes to take a look at it. There's no, are there any concerns about the minutes? If not, ready for a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes of November 3rd, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Emily Hunt Daly to approve the minutes of November 3, 2020 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I just want to mention something. I apologize for not being able to attend the meeting personally, but we are following the rules that are set forth by the state of New Mexico. Plus, I have a family medical complication that prevents me from attending at this time, but welcome all. Recognitions.
Okay, Mr. President, Board, nobody specific, but I do want to shout out for all of our teachers and all of our staff, principals. I won't name them by group because I know I'll leave somebody out again, but really appreciate all the work and the coming together of all the staff in the school district. I also like to recognize, Mr. President and Board, the community healthcare workers who have had to step up in the last week or so. And just a big thank you to all of the folks who are working so hard to keep our community in a good place as best as can be in the middle of our challenges here. So that's what I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next agenda. Citizens to address the board. Ms. Covey, are there any, Mr. Perez, are there any citizens who wish to address the board?
Okay, yes, sir. We do have citizens to address the board, and I'd like to, we have Ms. Jennifer Kincaid, who submitted to speak. And she's on.
Ms. Kincaid? You may speak.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was unmuted yet or not.
That's all right.
Members of the board, thank you for allowing me to speak with you this evening. So my name is Jennifer Kincaid. I am a 3rd, 4th grade teacher at San Rafael Elementary. I'm here this evening to express concerns about the risks we are all facing due to participating in in-person instruction. I know the impact can't be felt across our entire district, but I can speak to our school. We've had several families that are either COVID positive or have lost a family member to COVID in recent weeks. We have many students who are being raised by elderly grandparents. If a child is COVID positive but not having symptoms and then brings that home to their family, that could be devastating. In addition, having to tell parents that we are going to have to close suddenly and unexpectedly due to a possible COVID exposure has left many parents and staff feeling frustrated and scared for their student safety. Because our school is very small, the impact is huge when there are staff that are having to quarantine if they're having symptoms and or waiting for results of their COVID tests. We simply don't have enough staff to cover lunches and breaks when this happens. Another concern is that students are going out and participating in high-risk activities, such as visiting with non-household members, which is something that the governor has asked people to avoid. And then coming to school the next day. We can ask them to wear a mask and to social distance while they're in our classrooms, but then we cannot control what happens when they leave. And their behavior outside of school could be putting teachers, other staff, and other students at risk. Since we cannot control that behavior, I think it is unfair to ask teachers, other staff, and other students to put themselves at risk when we know that we have the ability to teach virtually. Additionally, the governor's current stay-at-home order seems to be a contradiction to what schools in this district are currently doing. Since we have the ability to teach virtually and our students now have the capabilities to attend classes virtually, I think that having our students return to a virtual only model immediately is the only option that makes everyone safe while maintaining our students' educational needs during this latest surge. Thank you for your time.
Do you have another one?
I don't believe you can call
What's the name?
for Amy Gonzalez.
Okay, Mr. President, we also have Miss Amy Gonzalez. I don't know if she's on. Miss Amy Gonzalez, are you on? Okay, so we don't have Miss Amy Gonzalez on signed in here, so Mr. President, I don't know if you wanted to wait or go ahead and go on. Oh, you're on mute.
Unmute yourself there.
There we go.
Thank you. We are unable to respond to you directly. However, during the board meeting, you'll probably see us addressing the issue that you were concerned with, Ms. Kincaid. Let's proceed to presentations. Mr. Pettis.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, board, by request and by due diligence, we have the secondary principals to present this evening on the senior support and career pathways updates. And so
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to the secondary principals. And Mr. Sanchez, do you have the PowerPoint you want to pull up, or would you like me to do that? Or whoever else is on that, Mr. Wagner? You're the only two I can see right now.
They're both muted.
Can you not hear us? Or?
Can you hear us okay?
They're both muted.
They're both on mute?
Yes.
Somebody have to unmute them?
Dr. Martin, or do you have a capability to unmute? There he is, Mr. Wagner.
Lanes. Oh,
There's Dion.
All right, I'm unmuted. Can you guys hear me?
yes.
We do have a presentation, and I believe Emily's going to pull it up for us on the main screen. And Ms. Sanchez will begin our presentation.
Okay, you'll have to let me know just when to advance.
Ms. Sanchez says that she's muted as well. Can we unmute her?
Dr. Martin? Is he on? Ms. Sanchez, are you co-host on this?
I think I just, yes, I got Ms. Sanchez off. I'm here, Mr. Pettis.
Need to unmute, or I'll give Ray.
I'm okay now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Raina, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Widener, Mr. Sanchez, and I came up with this presentation together, so I'll go ahead and get it started. You can change the slide, please. We're starting with Los Alamitos Middle School. Let's see, there was one before this, Emily.
Slow reacting, is that it?
This is the one, yes. At Los Alamitos, we're preparing students to be successful for high school and beyond at this point. And so some of the skills that we're working on, especially in our current situation, is good attendance and participation. This includes filling out their attendance forms daily, participating in their live classes when they have them, and going to those diligently. Advocating for themselves, this is a really big one right now. We're trying to get these students to advocate for themselves, to email their teachers themselves, to call into the school and ask for help when they need help, rather than their parents advocating for them. And this is proving to be successful with a lot of our kiddos. We're also asking them to turn in quality work on a deadline. So the first quarter, we learned really quickly that our students need more strict guidelines and some more help with this. And so we implemented a new policy the second quarter where their work is due within that week, and it's getting positive results from our teachers. And so the students have that week deadline, they're meeting that deadline. If they don't do that, then once again, they have to advocate for themselves and ask Mrs. Julian, our assistant principal, or myself for an extension on that. What it does is it allows Mrs. Julian and I to have a conversation with them about turning in their work and any struggles or obstacles that they might have, and then how they can better prepare themselves for moving forward. This is also an opportunity for us to give them the chance to meet with our student success advisor, and she can help them to be successful as well. Go ahead to the next one. Or it might be the one before. Along with the increasing knowledge of the technology that our students are gaining right now, we're also teaching them digital citizenship and how to properly use their computers and the technology that they have at their hands. And we're implementing social emotional learning through our digital platforms as well. Our next step plans will be worked on in the coming months, and that information is used for Grants High School. And Mr. Widener will explain how they use the next step plans from middle school to help with high school transitions.
All right, I think the next slide is mine. So if we can go to that. I was asked kind of from the previous board meeting to come up with some of the data to represent the class of 2021. The current students and where they're at. We currently have a senior enrollment of 192 students. There are 84 of those students that are at risk. We have a senior counselor, Ms. Carpenter. She's watching their scores. We're watching their grades. At first quarter, 84 students had an F in one of their classes. And as you know, there are graduation requirements that they have to meet. So seniors are enrolled in economics, they're enrolled in government, they're enrolled in senior English, financial literacy, and higher maths. And so they have to meet those requirements to be able to graduate. These 84 students are at risk of not passing in the fall semester. And so we would have to look at credit recovery. We'd have to look at placing them in the proper classes, making sure that they're taking courses at NMSU, dual credit courses, to be able to graduate on time by May of 2021. There are 3 board-approved early graduates in the class of 2021. And we'll have one of those students will talk to us in just a moment about her progress and her experience with virtual learning. She was a junior student that the board approved for her to graduate early. So she'll speak in just a little bit. We are sending out intervention letters to families. We're tracking students' attendance. This year we implemented an attendance office. And so we're watching the students' virtual attendance by hour. So, we're making sure that they're in first period, second period, and tracking that. We're sending out those letters, and we're having a lot of meetings with families. Of course, we're doing it all virtually. So a lot of these meetings are on Zoom or in Meets. And so a few weeks ago, we were allowing parents to come and meet us in front of the school, but now we're trying to stick to the virtual Zoom type meeting. Interventions that we're implementing school-wide, as well as with the class of 2021, include dual credit AP enrollments, the graduation requirement letters that are being sent home to families, parent-teacher Zoom planning sessions. We offer, we have 400 different courses that we can offer through Edgenuity, and we offer those through credit recovery. In the past, we used to charge for credit recovery. Last spring, we altered that to where, we were making sure that the kids were getting the courses that they needed. We do offer before and after school tutoring on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Can we go to the next slide?
Well, Mr. White, I have a question. You mentioned the 84 students at risk and plans to help them through that. You literally have three weeks to get that credit done. And I don't know, does Edgenuity allow a 3-week course grade, or what are we looking at?
So typically annually, every year in December, you have a list of your seniors that you've got to watch. And so last year at this time, I think we had about 56 seniors that were struggling, that were in the class of 2020. And so we do see an increase of 30 additional seniors. I believe because of the virtual learning. But what we'll do is we'll continue to track them. If a student doesn't pass their government class in December, then we'll re-enroll them in government for the spring. It's a semester course. And so that's where we're really watching now to make sure that they've got the courses. So when they come back in January, they've got everything that they need to be able to graduate.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Ms. Sanchez a moment ago mentioned that we are looking at next step plans. About 3 years ago, Mr. Maldonado was working with the Career Academy, and we implemented a program there called Major Clarity. Major Clarity is a assessment where students target their career interests and their career pathways for when they come into high school. We assess students through Major Clarity 8th through 11th grade. And so, and what that does is the program generates a next step plan for the kids. So it says, this student is interested in construction trades. And so when they take an elective class, they need to be in the construction trades program. But they also need those 26, standard graduation requirements. They do need the English, the math, the science, the social studies. And so we generate those annually, again, testing 8th grade through 11th graders. And we have the Major Clarity. And those are kept with our counseling department as well as our Career Academy. We purchased Major Clarity through the Career Academy in our grant. And so we all work as a counseling team to be able to incorporate that. We did use it in the 2019-2020 school year, as well as 2021. Career pathways at Grants High School include agriculture, business, coding and computers, drone technology, engineering, construction trades, education and teaching, welding, and then there are 20 different CTE pathways that are available on Edgenuity. So if a student was interested in being a physician's assistant, they could take coursework on Edgenuity that would help to head them that way. Students also do dual credit courses at NMSU, which enable them to work towards an associate's degree. In just a moment, I'll have one of our former students who graduated early. She will speak to you as well and kind of let you know about her experiences with getting those credits, getting the associates, and what she's doing now, helping GCCS with the virtual instruction that we're providing. Can we change slides, Emily? I mentioned that we do have a current student and a former student here. You guys will remember Callie Williams. She petitioned the board in 2018 to graduate early. She did graduate early with an associate's degree, and she works for the district now. Callie, if you're on, will you share kind of your experiences with the virtual world and what you're doing now with your career?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. My name is Callie Williams. I have a quick presentation for you. My journey through high school and college very much resembles the hybrid model currently being used by the district's elementary schools, and I am here to share my experiences with you. I graduated early from Grants High in 2019. A week before graduating, I obtained my associate's degree and a certificate from NMSU. I spent many long hours working on my classwork in both environments. I encountered many obstacles on the path to graduation, and it was largely due to the patience and guidance of teachers and counselors that allowed me to overcome these obstacles. Through virtual classes from NMSU and Grants High, I was able to get ahead in life. I am currently enrolled at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and I expect to have completed my master's degree within 3 years. I was also hired in August as a tech for GCCS Technology Department. Teachers, staff, and the rest of the technology department have taken steps to prevent the very same obstacles I have contended with in a largely online environment. I also feel it is worth noting that I have 3 siblings at home, and the teachers are doing an excellent job making remote learning fun and interactive. I greatly appreciate the support Grants High, NMSU, the board, and the entire technology department have given me, and I look forward to working with all of you in the district. I'm happy to share my input if anyone has any questions.
Ms. Williams, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
This is Mr. Ashambo. What is your program over there at Embry-Riddle? What is your emphasis, area of study?
My field of study is in unmanned systems.
Unmanned systems?
Yes, sir.
Amazing. And that's out of Prescott.
Yes.
It's an excellent school. I'm glad you're there attending.
Thank you.
You said that you have experienced a hybrid instructional approach to what seems to be the strengths and weaknesses of this approach.
For the hybrid model, I've seen that it's hard to coordinate with other students. The teachers aren't able to incorporate plans as easily for group work and projects. However, the style of learning includes a lot more types of learning mediums, video, books, and it can also be incorporated into physical activity within the home. And that is something I really have appreciated about my online learning, both with the high school and NMSU and with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Great, thank you. Excellent.
Thank you, Callie. Callie's an example of a student who is still working virtually. She's still got connection to GCCS, and she sees what is going on in the classrooms every day. I was trying to get students that could kind of give you their experiences. My student from the class of 2020 ended up working from home since March, graduated in May, and is currently, it's Kevin Daya, and he's currently enrolled at Fort Lewis College. He's taking classes at night, and so he couldn't be here tonight. But he graduated in May of 2020 virtually with 31.75 credits and had a 3.79 GPA. He's currently studying sports medicine. And I knew that he would be a good example of a student who finished virtually and started the college experience virtually. Destiny Moore is a student that you all met this summer. she petitioned the board to see if she could graduate early. She was a member of the class of 2022 and is now currently looking at graduating in May of 2021. She's taking a mix of senior and junior courses and is keeping a 3.0 GPA. And so, Destiny, will you share your experiences with working virtually through Grants High School?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As now, due to the global pandemic, various schools have learned virtually with academics instead of in-class learning. Adjusting to this new way of learning virtually 100% has been challenging. As a student that enjoys going to school to learn, I soon realized that I do get to work on my assignments easier than being distracted by other students, so virtually has been easy for me. Trying to graduate early has had its ups and downs, as it can be very overwhelming, but it pushes me to achieve my goals. I work better when I know there's a time limit. I finished my first semester of junior year before the first quarter. I am 2 weeks away from finishing my second semester of junior year. I also challenge myself to finish my senior year before April, if possible. But overall, this experience has opened my eyes that if you truly want something, you have to sacrifice most of your time to get it, as it can be time-consuming. I just continue reminding myself that time doesn't stop. Taking a break is okay, but I can't rely on it when it's not needed. But overall, virtually learning has been fairly easy.
Amazing.
Thank you, Destiny. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Sanchez, who's going to talk about Laguna Acoma Junior Senior High School.
Hang on,
Before you
Mr.
go,
Weiner.
Mr. Widener, let me ask Destiny a question. That looks like a lot of time sitting there in front of a computer.
I can't hear you, Emily Hunt.
Okay, that seems like a lot of time sitting in front of a computer. Can you give us the ups and downs of that? Is it stressful, more stressful, or I noticed you said that it eliminates a lot of the distraction from other students. I can't imagine sitting there that long in front of a computer. What do you think?
Destiny, did you hear that?
Yeah, it's a lot of time sitting in front of a computer, but like I said, it's very time consuming, and I had to sacrifice things that I wanted to do so I can get finished, like graduating, so I can finish and meet that goal of graduating on time. So I've had there's like these blue light glasses that help you so you won't strain your eyes, and it's a lot of time spending in front of a computer and learning and all that. But learning virtually, you don't have other students distracting you as in them talking like behind you or being loud or obnoxious. So it gives me time to actually focus on my assignment instead of being interrupted by other students.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sanchez, you can take over the presentation, sir.
All right, next slide. All right, so Laguna Acoma. So right now we're in the middle of what's called a high school redesign. We're working with Johns Hopkins University, and we're changing some things at the school. It's a little, it's going to be a big change at first. We slowed things down. We're looking at the structure, and we're looking at more what's going on in the classroom. We're looking at class of 2021. We have 55 seniors. 30 of those seniors are at risk. We're really struggling with contacting the students that don't have internet connections, getting those kind of papers back and forth, but we really are focusing on it. So this slide was done about 3 days ago. The teachers are working diligently, trying to get the students more engaged, get the assignments in. And today I checked and we went from 30, we're down to 20. So we are working closely with those students. Checking last year at the same time, they had 25 students who were at risk. So we do have more than we had the year before, but we still have a long ways to go. The interventions that we're doing right now for our at-risk students is we have dual credit and AP enrollments. After school tutoring, we have teachers that are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're after math and ELA tutoring. Resuming with parents conference moderated by the advisory. So what we did this year for our parent teacher conference, because we could not have them at the school, is every advisory teacher set up a parent teacher conference that was virtually, that required the parent to log in along with the student, and they discussed everything that was going on in the classes. If they had any failing grades, that teacher was to contact the student, the classes they were failing, and include them into the conversations, get some feedback, and even have them in the virtual meeting. We have Ingenuity. Ingenuity hasn't really been used as consistently at Laguna Acoma in the past as it has at Grants High School, but it's starting to be used more and more now. Another thing that we're starting to do is we're starting to step away from sending out so many the report cards. What I want to focus on is sending students out their transcripts. Transcripts tell seniors more about where they're at rather than a simple report card. Transcripts tell them, are they on track for graduating? Do they have all the requirements? Is there anything they're missing? What I don't want is to be there at the end of the school year and a student or a parent or even the staff be surprised why a student is not graduating. So we're incorporating transcripts as part of the communication tool, not just report cards. The intervention plan by a teacher. So because we have such a high rate of at-risk students, any student that is failing a course, that teacher sets up a plan with that student that's going to help guide them so that they can be successful. So if they're failing Ms. Kost's ELA class, Ms. Kost will set up a plan, an individual plan with that student, much like you would do with an IEP student, but you make a plan. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what I need from you to be successful. One of the things that I did also, because I did recognize after the first quarter that failure rate was so high, is we have our leadership team and we're looking at our grading practices and how we're grading students during this COVID practices. I am working with Johns Hopkins University and the EWS, as well as the high school redesign. And that's part of what we're looking at, is how other districts, other schools in the nation are grading students on this virtual platform and what the expectation is. Advisory students, so every student has that academic advisory, and they're offering academic support as well as social emotional support. We do see a lot of students, probably in the last last 3 weeks, we've had some students who have presented us with some things that are concerned. Suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, those things. We're working with the tribe. We're trying to send those over to the tribe as much as we can. We're trying to get them some counseling support. We're also using PMS, who is part of, who works at Laguna Acoma, has an office there, where we're working with them so that we can get them some additional support. We understand that it is tough on the students, and I'll be honest that the social emotional is the top priority, even over academics at this point, when you have students start talking like with those kind of self-harm issues. We know we have a long ways to go. We're working very diligently. Ms. Renee Sanchez is helping us out. We're using the state to help contact a lot of these parents. But again, the biggest struggle we're having now is students who do not have connectivity, who do not have internet, trying to get their packets with the tribes closed, get those packets back from the students. And so that's attributing to a lot of our failure rates. Next slide, please. Does anybody have a question on that slide before I go on? Okay, so our next step plan. So we're using Major Clarity. That's part of the next step plan. Grants High School's been using it for 3 years. Last year they used it at Laguna Acoma, but it only was used on a handful of students. When I looked at the reports, I think there was a total of 30 students who responded to it. So right now we're working on getting our students in now. We're working on getting our seniors and getting some feedback from them. And then after that, we'll start working with our underclassmen. Our fields of interest, right now we have, when I looked at that data that was compiled last year, it was software programming, nursing, performing arts, graphic design, and network system administration. So with our high school redesign, we're going to start incorporating these fields of interest into our plan. We also implemented Project Lead the Way. I'd like to thank Dr. Y and give him a lot of credit on that, because he brought that to us, along with the support of Sherry when she was at our site. Project Lead the Way, we have 3 new courses that are to help with careers. It's Intro to Engineering and Design, Energy and the Environment, Computer Science, and Innovators and Makers. And so this plan came about, or these 3 were specifically chosen based off those fields of interest that we had. We brought back the art program. In years past, the art program was removed from Laguna Acoma. One of the things that I felt is our Native American students are really tied to art and that kind of field. So it was important for me to bring that field back this year. And so we now have an art and a music program, which one of those was going away this year. So I'm proud to say that we have an art program. Once again, we have a new teacher. She's very excited, energetic, young, experienced with, she's worked in St. Pius, those other kind of schools before she came to us. And she really is doing some great things. Watching her in her class and watching the students, it made me proud of the fact that we brought that course back. Any questions on this before we move on?
Mr. Sanchez, this is Ms.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that the overall issue of connectivity is a real major concern. The other thing I see happening is the breakdown, or not the breakdown, but the upkeep of the computers, the laptops that they're using. And I know currently we don't have days set aside for a tech to go out there so that kids can bring their laptops in to get overhauled or get maintenance. I don't know if that's something we can set up to have now with the school closed to go meet students, set up a time if they're really having trouble with the computers. And I've seen that, I've heard that myself. Set up something for them to get there so that the tech can look at their computers and see what's wrong.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we do have that. We do have some backup computers. So if a student has trouble with a Chromebook, they bring it in and we exchange it. And then IT, they've been really good about helping us out with that and sending it back under warranty or getting it fixed. What we're finding though is a lot of those students will bring those laptops in and we're able to log in. It's the connectivity at their homes that is causing the issues with the Chromebooks. Either there's a filter on there or I know with HughesNet, it will block a lot of things that even our district does not block. So a lot of those things are the limitations they have with their internet out there. But we do have extra Chromebooks that they're able to come in and exchange if they need to. But because we're not there, we're now off-site because we're all quarantined till the 30th. And so right now that's difficult, but if it is possible, I am willing to go with the student to go exchange them. The only ones that we've had trouble with is we've had a couple of students who have punched the screens and those kind of issues. And right now we're working with Mr. Maldonado and getting that policy updated and getting a more strict policy on students damaging computers intentionally. So that's one of the things that we are working on, and that is also another issue that we're working on and try to improve.
Okay, I'm wondering, Mr. Perez right here, if we can set up a time for them to come bring in to Grant if they can't get to Laguna Acoma.
As far as needs, I think any of those types of needs, I haven't heard, but you would let me know that, Mr. Sanchez.
For sure. And to be honest, I have not. The only thing when I am contacted, we do tell them that they can come and exchange it. I haven't heard any new ones lately, but that doesn't always mean they're going to, because sometimes they won't advocate or contact me directly. So what I'll do, Miss Daly, is I will double check with all my teachers to see if they have been told about a computer issue that needs to be exchanged. But I know that Reina has extra ones. I know Lane, and I know they would support me if we had to do it through them, and we can get it to them.
And the reason I'm concerned is because I know through my husband he's been offered to drive or pick up the laptop and drive it to the school for them or to Grant so that, but of course it depends if it's really a computer issue or it's just their lack of logging in. Sometimes that tends to be the issue as well.
Yeah. Well, what's nice is one of the tools that we have available to us is GoGuardian. And when a student says, it doesn't let me in, we can go in and we can see what that student's been looking at. We can see how long that student's been on YouTube as opposed to logging into their Google Classroom or those kind of things. So we're able to see every single thing they're doing. And a lot of the case, what I'm hearing, and I know I talked to Reina earlier, and she's having the same issue where they'll tell the parents, oh, I don't have to be on, or I'm done, or whatever. And then we'll go on there and or they'll say their computer's not working, and we'll go on there and see they've been watching YouTube for the last 2 hours, but they didn't log into the Google Classroom at all. So, and that's a growth thing for the students. That's a understanding by the parent and educating parents better. There is a opportunity that parents can have access to that Go Guarding as well. We're working on that with the district, so the parent themselves can go see exactly what we see. So we're working with the district, and Raquel's helping us out with that. So we're hoping that will help as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, I have one student, Mr. Ortiz was not able to sign in. He wasn't able to reply back to get the link. But Mr. Aiden Jeremiah, our junior, we have a junior on here. So I thought it was important. Wanted to have a senior and a junior, so they have the perspective of I'm almost out, and I got one more year. So I think Aiden is on here. Aiden, are you on here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, sir, can you just tell us a little bit about how things are going for you this year? What's going on in your classes? Excuse me, I'm getting sick. So what's going on with your classes and how the school year is going? I would also like you to tell us what else we can do for you. Here's an opportunity for you to talk to not only Mr. Sanchez and the school, but you can talk to the district and say, we need help with this. So Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
The school year's been going good. There's some things that I personally have trouble with. So with me, I'm an extrovert, so I prefer talking in person rather than the virtual learning. So that's been challenging. And there's some things that I don't feel as motivated if I were to go to school. Another good thing is I like Go Guardian because a feature of it is that the teachers can email you or send you a text personally, and it pops up in the bottom of your screen, and you can message back and forth without having to announce it loud within the Google Meet. Another thing my teachers have been doing is so some kids log on and then they leave their computer and it shows that they're still in the meeting. One of my teachers has ordered us to every few minutes to turn back on our cameras and to check in on us to see if we're still there, which I like, so that everyone is engaged. And then some teachers prefer us to say things out loud and unmute our speakers rather than to text it in chat. I prefer that. Other than that, everything has been going good.
One of the things I would like to say about Mr. Jeremiah is he's an example of what Raina's trying to accomplish when we talk about teaching students to self-advocate. Mr. Jeremiah emails me quite often, and I appreciate that. I have about 20 students that at least I hear from at least once a day. And that makes me so proud to see these students advocating for themselves. Sometimes it's pretty direct and outspoken. Sometimes it's suggestions and ideas, but it's really nice to have those students and to see these students self-advocating. Now, being new to high school, I don't know if that's a high school mature thing that's coming along with them, or if that's something that's being instilled to them because they're in this unique situation where they have to learn this. But it is neat to see them do that. So I really appreciate Mr. Jeremiah being with us. I apologize for Mr. Ortiz not being here, but I would like to thank Mr. Board President, Dr. Guy, the board, and Mr. Perez. Thank you for allowing us to do this. It did get us to look deep into those our students and who's struggling. And I'm hoping that when we get to the end of this this semester, that we're going to have a great report for you, because we're not going to slow down. We're not going to give up. We're not going to accept that even though we're improving, we still have 20 students who are on the pathway of being at risk. So thank you guys for letting us be part of this meeting today. I know you guys have a lot on your mind. I know you guys have a lot of things in the community, but I really appreciate what you guys do for us. And you guys always taking our safety of the staff, administration, students, and parents into your consideration. Thank you.
One last question, Mr. Sanchez. How many of your students are utilizing jetpacks, and are they working? Is there a brand or something that maybe we can assist with?
I would say about half. I'm trying to remember how many students have jetpacks. I would like to say the number 30, because at one time that was there, but we still had a lot who were waiting for them. And what occurred with the jetpacks is if they have the Verizon jetpacks, they work a lot better. The T-Mobile ones, not so well, but any of our students that live in the Cebolleta area, they don't even have phone access. They don't have data access at all. So the Jetpack, although we provided it, we gave them that opportunity, it still does not help them, and that's where the packets came in. And so we're working with those, trying to get them the packets out. But now with the limit, not able to get onto the reservation, not able to get to some of those areas, and it is being an obstacle, but we'll keep working with it.
Okay, does that conclude the presentation?
Mr. Perez, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wagner and Mr. Sanchez for making a presentation. I think the students it was great to hear the students. Just listening to you, I'm just trying to summarize in my mind what I've heard. Basically, that it is a unique challenge that teachers are having to face, and I really commend the teachers for trying to figure out innovative ways to address the needs of the students on a daily basis. What I do notice is that there's still an effort that needs to be made to try and monitor and adjust instruction to differentiate immediately. And I think that occurs every day whenever a teacher is teaching. They have to not only watch out for the technology problems that are surfacing, but also whether or not the students are engaged, whether or not they're understanding the lesson. And if they're not, then the greatest task that the teacher has then is to, what do I do if the student doesn't understand the lesson? And I think that's something that your teachers can work together, collaborate, figure what do we do when a student doesn't understand? Can we provide additional time, or do we provide additional examples of what it is that we're talking about? I think that's really important because we can't wait until the report cards. We got to address the needs of those kids who are in need immediately. And that's really always important for us to do. What I also understood is that there's a need to have the students understand that the purpose of going to school is to graduate and to seek a career, and that's really important. We feel that the board feels that the students must actually select one or more careers and begin to focus on that during their 4 years. And I'm hoping we will see more progress in that area. Then finally, of course, the technology issue that Emily brought up, but we're still being challenged by that. And I'm really sorry to hear that kids up there towards Cebolleta, Moquino are having challenges up there. That's really something that I don't know how we're going to address, but we need to figure out what to do with them. Mr. Perez, thank you for having the high school principals make the presentation, and Sanchez at Lambs. I think that was very worthwhile. We'll be expecting another report mid-year.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to acknowledge the good work of our principals. As I mentioned earlier, we have some great leaders in our district, and it's always, I'd like to just also affirm that it's always nice to hear that these students are speaking out and advocating for themselves, and they're being developed and working towards some strong careers and starting at here and now. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Perez, are we ready to continue with the rest of the agenda?
Sure. Mr. President, Board, the next item we have on presentations is a financial update. Mr. Maldonado, do you want to pull up yours, or would you like for me to pull it up?
There we go. I can do it. Thank you very much. I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. Everyone hears me clearly.
I hear you loud and clear here.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Board President and members of the board. I wanted to bring to you a Q1 update for our school year 2021 that to end the quarter that started in July, August, and September. The end of September, we had to do a cash report for the PED. And I want to share with you some of other items that we're working on as a district. So today we're going to cover our cash report that we are we submitted on in October. I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of how money flows into the district, and then how money flows out of the district, just to give you a snapshot of what we look at. I also want to update the board on the progress on our audit, and then tell you a little bit about what we're doing to plan for finances in the future. So the objectives of the finance department really is to provide the resources to support the mission of the district. And we do that by supporting, the investment in the human capital, our teachers, our staff, supporting the needs of the programs and our outreach in the district and beyond, supporting our buildings and infrastructure needs, from anything from actual buildings to technology needs. Also providing resources to help with the health and safety of our students, as well as the teachers and other staff members, and overall to create a high caliber educational experience for everyone involved. So to do so, we have to have financial resources that are efficient and move beyond what we need to plan for what we need today as well as in the future. And we need processes to safeguard that money and that the money coming in. One of those safeguards is regular reporting to the PED. And so if you recall back in early October, I gave a more detailed description of our cash report by all of the different funds. Today, I'm just going to give you a summary of some of the key funds that we reported this year, so it's not going to be as lengthy as the previous report. But if you look at this grid here, we take the operational fund, which is labeled 11,000. That's our code that this PED uses. And we take our cash balance that was at the end of the last quarter, which was the end of the school year and end of the fiscal year for the district. And we ended that with a $7.5 million cash balance. We then put in what's called TR, or total revenue, money that came into the district starting July 1 through September 30th, 2020. And we received in this fund, $7.7 million for this fund, mostly in through the state equalization guarantee. We then had expenses of $6.5 million, which left us a cash balance of $8.7 million. But then we had some outstanding issues, such as payroll that had not been processed yet or cashed, and that was another 2.7. So we had to reconcile the accounts in that particular fund. That gave us a reconciled balance of $10.9 million. Now, you may recall the last time we talked about this report that we have what's called loans, and we were unable to end the quarter with a deficit balance in any of the grant money or the federal funds. So what we do is we temporarily loan the money from our operational funds to those funds in order to make them zero until we're able to get the request for reimbursements back in, at which time we then reconcile that. So it's kind of like giving your teenage kid an advance on the allowance until they're able to pay you back. And so that's what this is. So we have to account for that. This $2.5 million are these money that we temporarily loaned to other funds. So we ended up with $8.4 million in cash at the end of September. Compare that to our ending cash of $6.6 million at the end of June. There was a change in cash increase of $1.8 million, which is a good thing. Sounds like a lot of money, but it's a good thing, but we still have many, many months to go. And so, but this is a good report. Then here's the teacherage, which is the 12,000 account. As you can see, we have many funds to monitor. Some are large, like the operational fund. Some are very small, like this teacherage, where there was just a net a change of negative 94,000. We have our transportation fund, this 13,000 fund. This is a fund that we're going to be watching very closely because we of course can't start the year with any balance. So we started with a zero balance right here. We were able to get revenue from the state of $285,000, less the expenses of $174,000, which left us total cash of $111,000, and that's what goes down to this bottom line. If we had been in a regular school year, other contributing factors to what would be for revenue would be all of our activities that we take schools out to, take students out for field trips and things like that, and that would have increased this revenue. But right now, it's all expenses. There's no other revenue other than the state coming in. Again, you'll see in a slide that I'm going to show you later, this is an area that we want to watch closely because it looks like the state's going to make some changes on how they fund this moving forward. Another small account was this instructional account, and you can see it really didn't change at all. But I wanted to give you a picture of how some of these funds work. I'm going to show you four more. Food services and 21,000 account. We started the year with a $1.4 million balance. Ordinarily, I would say we wouldn't want to carry that much money over in the new year, but that's what we did this last year. We had revenue of $364,000, expenses of $398, and as you can see, as we go down, we ended the year with $1.4 million in that account or that fund. In the capital improvements, that's 31,700 and 31,701. This fund is eventually going away, so we had to make it whole. We started the year with a deficit of 400. Now this is for capital improvements that are then later funded by the state. And so we had expenditures of 551,000. We ended the quarter with 961,000 over. We then had to, of course, borrow the money from the fund, from the 11,000 fund in order to make that whole, and we ended up with a zero balance in that account. Same thing over here in the local funded fund, and I'll show you how this is funded later. We started the year with 3.8 million. We had revenues of 42,000. We spent 357, and you can see very healthy balance there. Here's the grand total right here. This grand total is right here. We started with $21 million for all funds. This is consolidating all funds. We have revenue of 10 million, expenditures of 9.6. So our total cash was at 21 million. Of course, we had to do some reconciliation. Those loans that you saw in the earlier slide, that's this one, this number right here in the operational. So we had to reconcile that, which left us a balance of $24,158,000. Moving forward, this is how money comes in. So what I wanted to do is give you a picture of cash flow for the district. Cash flow is very important because it funds all the things that we need to work on while we're waiting on cash from other funds. So this is, I took what we've had in deposits from January to the end of October, just to give you an idea of the amount of cash that comes into the district that we're managing. This miscellaneous credits, this comes from activities, from other funds, from a lot of different sources, but this is fundraisers, things like that. So we had deposits of 1.1 million. ROTC, Marines pay for to help fund the ROTC program. We received 66,000. Title I, we received 1.1 million. IDEA. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see, for example, the different sources of income. This Red Mesa Wind Farm, we get $312,500 every year, and I believe we still have 30 or 35 more years on this contract. This is what's called a pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes. So this comes in from the county. Our share of it is $312,000 every year. This is an unrestricted fund. We can use this for whatever purposes the district sees fit that the board wants to work on. This is also other areas that we receive cash, what we received so far. The SEG is our state equalization guarantee. On average, we receive about $2.5 million per month with this. And just to give you an idea, that monthly amount that we receive is barely enough to cover payroll. So you can see why we have to have a fund balance in order to cover these other expenses. On we go. And then this forest reserve distribution of $222,000 is also an unrestricted fund that we get on a regular basis. This insurance claim, we were able to recover. We filed an insurance claim when there was a cold snap and the power went out over at Grants High from Continental Divide. It caused a overload and freezing of our HVAC system and flooded. So we were able to, that was in 2018. We just now got this $358,000 in revenue. Are there any questions I can answer so far? All right, I'm going to proceed. This is where our money goes. You'll see that in salaries and benefits, they account for 90% of our state equalization guarantee from the operational fund, like 11,000 fund. So it leaves very little in the operational fund to cover items that were either unbudgeted or for just general operations. Obviously, through that, we support student services and academic services, food services through the various funds that we have, transportation, maintenance and repair, and debt services. So I want to focus a little bit on maintenance and repair. For years, we had not paid much attention to our maintenance and repair program. So this year, Mr. Lee is really having to work hard to bring a lot of our buildings and systems up to par. So we're focusing and focusing a lot of money and funds towards doing that, because preventive maintenance and repair is much less expensive than having to replace items. And then our debt service. Obviously, when we go out and we sell bonds and we borrow money for our educational ed tech program, for example, we have to make sure and prove to the state that we have the resources to pay that off over the course of the terms. So how does debt service work? Here's an example of what we get every month from the county. They collect property taxes on our behalf. And so, for example, this particular month, this just came in the other day, they collected $94,698. When the property taxes are due, for example, like this month, we anticipate that either in December or January, this number is going to be in like $1.8, $1.6 million. So the number varies depending on the month and how much is paid to the county. For collecting all of that, they take a 1% fee, which is demonstrated down here. And so what they do is they deposit the money into our Wells Fargo account, which is what we use to service our debt. So for example, in this month operational, they deposited $2,600. That came to our operational fund at TBK Bank. This debt service, they deposited $55,000 to service debt. This was to for the tech debt service, the ed tech was $6,400, and capital improvements $12,000 as well. So this is how they distribute the money, and this is the total amount that we get, and this is their fee for doing that. And this is how we pay our service our debt. And so, for example, last week I paid off a bond from 2012, and that bond payoff was $1.3 million. We had over $4 million in this account, so we easily could cover it. And that then frees up that amount of credit for the next time that we want to go out and sell bonds or borrow money for ed tech work, things like that. So that's how this operationally works. What we're watching closely, what I've talked with both the executive team and Mr. Perez about what we need to be watching closely, is the increasing cost of navigating this pandemic. All right. So there is that ongoing personal protective equipment expense. It is quite expensive. And I shared with you last month about how much we've been spending in that, but this is an ongoing expense. It does not change even when we go 100% virtual. We still have items that we need to make sure we are ensuring the safety of the staff and anyone on campus. We anticipate a decrease in the transportation allocation. You'll see, if you remember, that we don't have much in revenue from activities, so we're fully reliant on the state to fund those for us. And while some of the conversation at the legislature has been that maybe they won't consider a large sweep of cash coming out of our reserves, but what I'm seeing here, but what both Mr. Perez and I are watching very closely, is little by little, they're taking little bits of cash, such as, remember last month, they reduced our state equalization guarantee by $400 and some thousand. They reduced our transportation by $65,000. They're looking closely at our membership from our 40-day. So I think they're going to recalculate our SEG based on that membership as well. Membership meaning the amount of students in class enrolled. We also have the cost of replacing staff with the challenge of allowing staff to work from home or being sick or whatever it is. We have to replace some of those staff. We did a check on our substitutes, and right now we're probably at 15% of our annual budget for substitutes, which is pretty high. Some of those are long-term subs, which is I'm okay with because they're replacing teachers. We also are watching closely the technology costs. One of the items, of course, was the jetpacks. The annual or the monthly fee of the jetpacks is now reaching over $150,000 a year. Thankfully, though, we were able to get a grant from the GEER program from the governor, which will give us $123,000 to cover for this year. But that does not cover the next year and the year after that and whatever happens after that. Ongoing connectivity issues. Food costs are going to be very expensive depending on what mode of operation we have, feeding the community. And then, of course, there's the toll on human capital. We've talked at the district level many times about having workshops or ways to address the social and emotional issues that are affecting staff, not just the student. Now, I'll give you an example of the ongoing costs for replacing staff. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which is called the FFCRA, provides for ongoing salary support for staff directly affected by the COVID. Right now, we have 32 employees who have qualified for that. This is for employees who have to go through an application with Mr. Toivanen and get qualified. And what that does is it provides a full salary for 80 hours for that first 2 weeks, or 80 hours for that employee. If they're out even after that, and for another 80 hours, it provides 2/3 of their salary, which the district needs to cover. And then up to after that, an additional 10 weeks of 2/3 salary. So this could get quite expensive depending on who qualifies for this and what happens. And so there is that replacement expense with subs. So before I go on to the audit progress, I wanted to see if there's any questions about fund balances, about money coming in, about anything like that before I move on to this brief. All right. So as you know, we've had our audit in process for the last several weeks. The audit was due yesterday, November 16th. It did not get turned into the state auditor because we have some remaining items that we have to clean up. And clean up isn't a good word. We have to manage, and those have to do it because the audit has not been submitted. I can tell you some of the details of what we need to do. Back since 2009 and moving forward, we have some cash balances in accounts and funds, like I showed you earlier, in funds that are no longer active and no longer valid, but they have either cash balance or a cash deficit. So what's happening, bottom line, is the general ledger from our accounting program shows bank shows that we have just over $250,000 more in cash than what is shown in our general ledger. So that's a good thing because we have more cash actually in the bank, real money, than what we show in our general ledger, which we're calling paper money. And so we have to do some reconciling. We have to do some research back in. Our consultants and our CPA are going to help us with that. And our auditor has been talking to the state auditor about giving us that extension for that. And so we'll be working between now and before the Christmas break to get everything finalized so that Mr. Manning can submit that audit to the state auditor. So moving forward, what we're working on now is preparing the district for our share of the capital projects that are coming up with all the building, and we still have to prepare for the future. And even though we have bonds, we still and support from the state, we still have our share, so we have to plan for when we have to make those large payments. And of course, there's the cost of migrating to a new educational platform that builds on the remote learning experience. You heard that from these students who talked about the pros and cons and how that works. We have to continue to support the teachers and the whole everyone involved in education to really strengthen that and make that one of the more exceptional programs in the state. We have to put some resources towards that. And then we're watching closely on the effect of the state solvency plan on cash and ongoing expenses. As you know, they go into session starting in January, so we're going to anticipate some changes there, as well as changes in the PED calculation. There you have it. I'm available to answer any questions for you.
I don't have any questions right now. Mr. Maldonado and fellow board members, I sat in on, we had the audit committee meeting yesterday or the other day. I think it was yesterday. And so we heard the report on the audit, and it is a understandable delay that we have in turning in our audit. But that's about all that I want to say about the financial report. Thank you very much, Mr. Maldonado, for presenting this. It's quite extensive, a bit complicated, but as we go along, we will understand it more.
Thank you.
Okay, two questions, Mr. Maldonado. What percentage of our staff are we using the COVID response or replacement budget? How many teachers do we have doing that?
The FFC already?
Yeah.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
I think it's 32. 34. It's Maldonado. Is it 34?
There are 32 employees, he said, are qualified.
32.
Okay, and then on the last one where you explained that we have some balances that are, or some funds that have balances and deficits. How long ago has this occurred? Are we still carrying those forward? I thought we had taken care of those past balances and deficits in those funds.
You're on mute. Still on mute. Okay, I think, Dr. Martin, can you unmute Mr. Maldonado? And also,
there we go. Okay, thank you so much. To answer your question, Ms. Hunt, is these are what we're looking at with the audit work that we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks is a number of dead funds that we did not roll over, were not rolled over, but were never either balanced out or, for the lack of a better term, written off. And so what we want to do is, so here's a statement that the auditor made for us, and it was very cogent. He said that from last year forward, our bond accounts and our bond funds, perfect shape. Our NMFA, New Mexico Financing Authority funds and balance, perfect shape. Our new bank accounts that we started a year and a half ago or so, perfect shape. What's happening is we have all of these old sort of spider web funds that we still haven't addressed and gotten off of our books that are just hanging there as a shadow. And this has been happening since 2011, where the auditors requested, whoever the auditors were at that time and before my time, they requested us certain things for us to do, and we didn't get them done. We didn't book or we didn't unbook and all that. And so it just kind of snowballed. And so we're unable to balance that cash. And so we have to do something to get that off of our books and put that cash on our books so that we take those old accounts off of our books and reconcile it with the new cash so that our actual cash in the bank 100% reflects actually what's in our general ledger.
Does the auditor have any suggestions what kind of account you're going to create to offset those debits and credits? He
does, I think, have some idea. He didn't share that with us yet because we have some significant homework to do. So we're going back to documents from back in 2009, 2010, 11 that are in our vault that we're able to, then we're just going to start tearing it apart and deciphering exactly what the ins and outs that were provided from those previous audits so that we can model it and then to see how it brings us to imbalance. He's also asking the state auditor if we can just simply write those off because, you know, I've done audits before and when I was a consultant, and there are times when a checkbook is just such bad shape, and I've had companies where they hadn't balanced their checkbook for 4 or 5 years, and it was just such a big mess that the best thing to do is just start from scratch and start forward. And I think in a modified sense, that's what we're asking the state auditor to allow us to do.
But just one last comment, I can't believe we've been doing this since 2011, why that hasn't been taken care of before. But I'm glad that you're getting to it. Let's take care of it and stop carrying it forward.
Well, it's not the same auditor, ma'am. We've only had this auditor our second time now. And so I can't speak to what happened in previous audits because I wasn't there. I can only speak to the last audit we had when I was here for a few months and then this one. And so this is a good thing for us to go back and start cleaning this up so that we no longer have this shadow moving forward. The good thing is that when we put together the cash report, I can tell you with 100% reliability that those numbers are accurate because we balanced, as I said, we have balanced from 1920 forward. So we know that those funds are accurate and the money that you saw in those funds in that slide that I showed you, I can guarantee are 100% accurate.
Thank you for your diligence. We hope to get a better report when the final audit is done. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Pettis, so you continue on with the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, Board. I am going to pull up slides here. So I'd like to ask for everybody's patience while I carefully walk through this because it's an important part of who we are, and we've got some things to mull over and things to reflect on and some decisions to make. Before I even start with this, I think everybody realizes that things have changed the last couple of weeks, last few weeks. Those who watch the news, wherever you get your information, I can tell you from my perspective and being here working with all of the situations in the district, that we are, things have definitely changed the last 2 weeks. Spending inordinate amounts of time responding to either COVID positive cases or possible cases or connections to positive cases where we have to respond. Our teams have put a lot of work, a lot of hours into building processes and systems and flow charts that we follow that are in line with the state, that are in line with the New Mexico Department of Health, and so on. So we are everything that we're doing, all the processes that we're following, we do our due diligence to make sure that we're lined up with all of the authorities that we are working with. So that's one part of it. We have just this last couple of weeks also, I think last week we only had 2 schools functioning out of the elementary schools because the others were having to quarantine for one reason or another. The state started a new rule just recently that if you have 4 rapid response situations in a school, then it needs to be closed up for 14 days for quarantine. So we have just today, we have two schools in that situation because of that rule and having 4 situations, Mount Taylor, Milan, and then we have Cebolleta just today that had to move into following the processes, a 96-hour close down. So that takes them beyond, since we only have a couple of days, a few days this week, it takes that school into reopening on after the Thanksgiving break. So if you get the picture, we have some schools that are starting and then stopping. Right now, we have Mount Taylor, Milan, and Cebolleta out. We have schools like San Rafael, Blue Water, and Mount Taylor that just returned off of being closed. Came back yesterday. Every situation is unique. Every situation requires a lot of investigation and a lot of careful process. We do questionnaires with every situation. Sonia Hernandez, our health coordinator, who's also quarantined at this time, is we have spent a lot of time answering the questions and also reporting. Every situation that we get, we have to report it to New Mexico Department of Health, PED, and the Environmental Protection Agency. So there's some more process there that we work with that we didn't have to, never thought we would ever even be in this world just a few months ago. I have to also tell you that the situations in these closures and following the rules is creating almost an emergency type situation for our mills. We're getting really close to, as you can see, all of our operations are still going with our finances, with our schools, and everything else. We're still functioning well. We're still delivering meals to all of our students on a regular basis. But today we're getting we're having to pull together and get creative on how we're gonna continue the meals because some of the kitchen's closing down. So we were able to pull that off thanks to Edwina Edmond, our food services director, who has done wonders through this in just adjusting and adapting to all these changing episodes. So I am concerned, as well as a lot of my colleagues here, that if we continue, it's gonna impact our operations. We started off a couple weeks ago, maybe responding to 1 or 2 in a day. It's good. It's more like an average of about 4 or 5 situations today. I think today is probably more like 6 situations. We have to send letters out to each of the communities every time there is an incident, and so on and so forth. The other thing I think I need to mention is, just so I was actually asked to, I was in contact with the CEO at Cibola General, Mr. Tom Whalen, and I asked him if I could share this with the public and the board this evening. And he did say that the word he used was slammed, and so they're slammed. He respectfully informed me that there's a lot of connections. What's a small community between the staff at the hospital, the staff, our GCCS staff, in which we have some mutual problems, mutual challenges. He's fearing at the hospital that there's a lot of, they could be running very short, dangerously short-staffed if this continues. They have several staff out, and a lot of those staff were connected to our GCCS staff members. So he wanted to make sure that we talked about that and pointed that out. The other thing I think is important is that hospital, it got to capacities where they had to ship off 2 patients to Santa Fe Hospital and 1 to Durango because of their lack of capacity there. The other issue in the community, I think everybody knows, is the Yakima Hospital was recently closed. It's another impact on our health services here. So those kind of things are very much in the forefront of our minds as we proceed. Because of the changes recently, it's timely to bring this back to the table. Dr. Guy, our board president, asked that I also bring it forth to discuss it, bring it back to the forefront, being that the times have changed. So, Mr. Ortiz?
Yes, you know what, just to piggyback on what Mr. Perez said, I talked to Tom Whalen today, our CEO at the hospital, and I sit on that board, and there's been a number of cases. I don't know the exact numbers, like Superintendent Perez said, at the hospital itself, and a number of cases at the clinic. You know, and our medical staff is very concerned about our community and our decision we make for our students because of the relationships that we all have. Everybody's related in town, you know, and so, you know, it's something that we really need to look at on our delivery of instruction for our students. You know, also the city of Grant's got a call from the mayor, and they shut down the golf course and the library. They're also running the city with a skeleton crew. They had a number of cases in their police department, their fire department. So they're taking safety precautions to deal with this pandemic, you know, and we all know that there's no on and off switch to this virus, and there's no handbook on all the decisions that we're having to make these past few months. So, you know, it's just something that we really got to look at and look at our students, look at our teachers, our staff, our faculty, and just wanted to say that and encourage our board to make the right decision tonight.
Max, this is Dion. Hey, well, you know how I feel about virtual, but what is your recommendation? You know, I know the final approval comes from the board, but what are your thoughts? What is your recommendation? I know you've given us some stats and some specifics, but what is your professional opinion?
Got a lot of information that I will present on the slideshow, Dan, but if you asked me 2 weeks ago, my recommendation would be very different than it is today. Based on what I've experienced personally and my colleagues have, and I'm responding to all this today, I would be very much leaning towards going virtual for a while until we give us time to settle and get things back in order. As many districts are, I think we have. I checked with the state this morning. As of yesterday, 40% of the state is going virtual right now.
How much percent?
40% of the districts.
40? So when would we revisit?
I would like to, it's coming up here, Dion, but I can tell you that if the board chooses to go with a total virtual, I think it would be wise to stay that way until the third week in January. And here's why. If you stay virtual and then you come back, you know, there's going to be a lot of families that are going to be traveling, a lot of get-togethers for Thanksgiving, for Christmas. At the conclusion of the holidays, New Year's, we return to school, I think around the 6th or 7th. From that point on, if we're following all these guidelines, we would need 2 weeks, 14 days of quarantine from that point to the next. At that next point, the most logical time would be Monday, January 25th, to return in order to give everybody the proper time to return to grants, quarantine, and get back to a clean start. And I don't have the crystal ball. I don't know what things are going to look like at that time. I don't know what things will look like between now and then. But I can tell you, based on personal direct experience, the last few days, it has spiked to the point where some of the administrators and myself have been spending most of our time with this, and not much with anything else.
Continue with your presentation.
Is that Mr. Sandoval, President?
Yes, sir, for now. Thanks.
Okay, I'll try to pull some, of course, whenever you make important decisions, we have to have some data. This is the latest I pulled up. National. Let's see if I can move the pictures out of the way. And the United States, you can see the months of July through where we're at now, November. There's a spike, little decreases, but the general spike is going up. And if you look at the state, it's not much different. New Mexico follows right along, same pattern, same months, November 7th. This was as of the 11th. Things may have changed. Starts more local, and as this we're getting down to the county and the state here. This was updated November 10/17. These are the numbers of cases confirmed, number of deaths. We don't want to talk about, but it's reality. Updated at the same time here, New Mexico, and you can see the numbers there. And a lot of you are aware of this anyway, because you might look at some of the statistics that are out there. Some related statewide information. My mission here is just to give us give a good, some good information from which the board can have a perspective on how you make your decision. As I said earlier, about 40% of districts are operating totally virtual through the remainder of the calendar year and several through mid-January. We all know, or if you don't know, the Pueblos of Acoma and Laguna are closed by order of both of those governors. And there are challenges there in both of those Pueblos. And both of the leaders in those groups are doing what they can to keep get on a safer path. Whoops, let's see here. The other is the Navajo Nation just recently, more recently, issued an order, and I put a copy of that in the board's packets today, on November 16th, to close all schools and businesses on the Navajo Reservation. That doesn't directly impact us. It does directly impact our neighbors. Gallup McKinley County Schools has probably 20 schools on the Navajo Reservation. We don't have any. We do serve Navajo students, a lot of Navajo students, but we don't have schools on the Navajo Reservation. I don't think that we have any direct impact there, other than if students were not allowed to come to school. So once again, I think that's just a restatement that a lot of schools are going virtual. Now this one is already changed. Put this together this morning, and the numbers have already increased. I believe we're probably closer to 38 now. I'll have to double check that. But as you can see, as I was mentioning earlier, we've been dealing with now this is just the positive cases. This doesn't include all of the suspected cases or the secondhand kind of secondary contact situations, which also takes up quite a bit of time. I'm not saying that time is the only issue here, but just to give you a sense that there has been a more recent increase. Current situation in the district, of course, spiking numbers and cases. Only 2 schools were open for hybrid last week. The governors, I'm just giving important information, I think. Governor's executive order that we just heard yesterday does not change the school protocols at this time. But the thing that is important that we are abiding by now as part of the situation is, if a school now has 4 rapid response situations, it requires a 14-day closure of that facility. And so we're operating under that now. And as I mentioned earlier, our meal distribution could be in jeopardy if we can't maintain the number of staff to be at the schools to take care of that.
Before you move on, that 4 rapids, that within a week or?
It's within 2 weeks. Good question. You have 4 rapid response situations within a 2-week period. Then it calls for a 14-day closure. Mount Taylor Elementary has been in hybrid. We're actually having students in class for less than 5 days total because of varying situations. Reports again averaging about 5 a day. And reality, some students and staff are becoming fearful of being on site. I think that needs to be said. Age groups, another data point for our district here, and of course we have some additions to make. The positive cases, 10 are in the 0 to 17-year age group. This is I think that's supposed to be 18 to 39 years is 8. That's a typo there. 9 and 65 to 84, 1 case, and then all the 85 plus is 0. Because we wanted some fresh data to bring to the board, we did a quick survey that was just put out yesterday. So this is a very recent staff, this number of staff, the types of staff that took this survey. And you can see that was pretty well responded to across the board by every grade level. Schools, Grants High had the highest number, and the early college had the smallest number, and that's probably for obvious reasons, just different sizes of the school. But the question is, very basically, very clearly, which model would you prefer from now until January? We want to get a general sense so we can bring this to the board. So out of for that question alone, 86.4% prefer the remote virtual model. 13.6% prefer the hybrid model. I want to point out just some benefits and consequences that I'm sure that many of you have already thought about, but I like to bring it to the forefront. Benefits of total remote, higher levels of safety with the virus, decreased cross contamination, decreased possibilities of spreading, which is pretty much saying the same thing. Childcare is realistically less of an issue for staff in a remote setting. Students and instructional staff are much better equipped with technology, and that the statement is saying now compared to where we were when this fell in our lap in the beginning of March this year, we have every student has a device. We're much better prepared with the equipment, and the instructional staff have become much more efficient and effective with online learning. Even though we all agree this is not the best form of academic or educational delivery, we've gotten better at it. Some possible consequences of total remote. Well, we all know and realize the social emotional impact, which should not be should not be taken lightly. The social emotional impact we're hearing about more and more, not only in here, statewide, nationally, an increased potential for depression. You know, it's a very serious issue, and it includes you know, suicidal ideation, those types of things. Very serious potential impacts for our students and our families. And then there's also we have to be concerned about a possible impact to students who may not live in a healthy home situation. You know, we can't assume that every child has a at home. Internet and reliability of the internet connectivity remain a challenge, as was brought up here this evening. It's a long term. You know, if we could go out and build a tower and have all the kids connected, we would do it. But we don't have the capacity or the funds to make that happen overnight. Student engagement and behavior, totally remote, are not easily addressed. And that leads to our attendance problems and our grades and those kind of things. So that's the other side of that. Through all of this, we have some structures that remain in place, and we continue, as you've seen the evidence tonight with the school presentation. We continue with our standard line system. Our PLCs, professional learning communities, we are holding on to and making sure that we have some quality there with keeping our standards high and our expectations high for the students. And make sure that the teachers are collaborating so that we can make sure that we're doing what this institution was made to be. We address, we're pushing students to value and examine student work. It's a good source of qualitative data. We are continuing to push for professional development opportunities on our for all staff. Simple K-12 is a big part of that on our that teachers have access to. We're also this is not fully enforced yet, but an idea that we're working on is a STAR team to provide academic support, engagement, attendance, and social emotional support. The whole idea here is basically having our administrators team up in pairs and going out to personally reach those students that can't be reached through Wi-Fi, or those students who are just not connected with the district. So I would like to answer some questions, and I was hoping I could narrow this down to that we have a couple of options, and of course this is only from my perspective. If there's a third option or a fourth option, I would like to turn that on. But I'd like to say a word about this. If the board chooses to keep things as they are, we'd remain in hybrid. And just for organizing this, we can call that option 1. And option 2 could be a shift back to total remote until January 25th. And I think I explained that where, if you can see my cursor here, we are currently at November 17th. We have next week with no classes, so that week's out. So we complete this week. December has 1, 2, 3 weeks of instruction. So far I'm counting about 3.5 weeks. And then we go into the Christmas break and don't return until the 6th of January. And then, as I was stating earlier, or the 7th, 6th or 7th. So then the 2-week quarantine period would be from here to here on this week. So a logical time would be get a fresh start on a Monday, the January 25th, back into hybrid. So that's only 2 options that I came up with. If there's other options, this isn't.
Board members, comments, questions, board?
Mr. President, when you say go back to hybrid on the 25th, is it? Yeah, 25th. That's a decision we'll have to vote on again, or because the choice should be between going back to hybrid or staying virtual. Okay. I think we should have, as a board, we should have that option.
And I think, Ms. Hunt, Mr. President, so I think that is basically it. Stay hybrid, go virtual. The only thing I was adding is, when do we return? How long would you like to stay in? If you choose totally virtual, how long would we like to stay there? Do we need, and that's a good question, Ms. Hunt, Mr. President, do we need a closing date, or do we need a date to revisit this? This is where I turn it over.
Well, you've got the board meeting on the 19th. Am I correct?
January 19th?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can address it at that time.
And we should have some data, current statistics available to us, like the effects or the impact of the holidays regarding spikes or continued community spread, stuff like that. So it would be good for us to have that data available on that board meeting.
And I'd like to respond to that, Mr. President. So to respond to Ms. Hunt's comment, I think it's really important to understand that as quickly as I've seen things change the last 2 weeks, I don't know again how much change there's going to be between now and January.
I got a question when I get a chance. I don't mean to cut anybody off. Just let me know when, Dr. Guy.
Yeah, Richard. Good to hear you.
Okay, so back to your stats. We have 30 live cases right now. Could be 35, something like that. $33, but you said there may be a couple more. And that number, that's the entire district, right? All the way up through high school all staff, all everything, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what's our student body? 3,100, 3,200?
That's close.
And then we got 400 or 500 staff.
Yes.
So we're saying we got 3,700 people that are on those rolls, approximately.
That's close.
And we're willing to talk about shutting down education for less than 1%, and shutting down the students. I mean, we have our own stats on how virtual is failing. We have 34 kids, or 30 kids, 84 at Grants High School and 34 at Laguna Acoma that are seniors that are failing. We have those stats, and they're virtual. They've stayed 100% virtual. Our own stats show us that that's a failed vision. I mean, are we giving all those? I mean, that's over 50% at Laguna Acoma. Well, that's about 75% Laguna Acoma and over 50% at Grants High School. We just giving them a pass like we did in the spring? I don't think we can. So we're saying over half of our seniors in Grants-Cibola County schools are failing as we know it. Already going into intervention, what we're putting in front of them is failed. And we're talking about shutting it back down for less than 1% infected rate. And as of that rate, it's way less than 1% that is fatal to the students. And they can't trace any of it in the country from student to teacher or vice versa. So for less than 1%, all those kids, and don't let me forget, or don't forget, we're giving them an option to come in or not. So for less than 1%, the ones that have opted into sending their kids, we're just going to tell them too bad. There's less than 1% affected. So now you got to stay home too. So we're going to tell 99% of them, it's not up to them. We're not going to give them a shot. Just, I guess, do your best at home, because we have our own data that says that's not producing. I just want you all to think about that. I mean, our own data says that we're failing at 100% virtual. I mean, it's our duty not to fail these kids, these students, or our teachers. I don't want anybody hurt. I don't want anybody sick. But we have less than 1% affected in our school, and that's counting all the high schools and the middle schools that haven't even had kids yet. I just want everybody to think about that before we just decide to say, nope, y'all can't come to school anymore. And if we do decide to go virtual, why are we making the teachers and administrators go? There's still, there's way more statistics that say adult to adult contact is way more dangerous than adult to child. I mean, man, we got to use some common sense when we go through this, guys. That's all. Go ahead.
Mr. Perez, board members.
I just like to make there's a lot of good points brought up, and when I came into the meeting, I wanted to present this in a way that we present evidence and pros and benefits on both sides of this. And I think, unfortunately, this is an ugly thing all the way around for everybody, and on both ways. And that's how I see it. If we had more control, we definitely would be doing things differently. I mean, in an overall sense. But I think one of the things that we brought up, Mr. Jones, is that bringing the teachers back and the students. Well, that's another issue that we need to decide on. And one of the concerns I have is if, as I've seen it lately, we keep bringing the students back, or if we continue having the students there, and the cases continue. I want to make sure that we have the staff to dare to meet with students at the school sites. That's just a concern. I'm not saying that I'm for or against, but one of the concerns I have is if cases rise with the staff at one school, for example, or you know, or does there have to be a decision on whether the staff has to be at the school at the student?
Let me ask a question, Superintendent Perez, on the cases that we've had in the schools and the number of cases with our staff and having to shut down the schools. Explain that again to the board. You know, them having, if we have a case in Mount Taylor, they're going to be shut down for 14 days, you said earlier.
So, thank you, Mr. Ortiz, and I'd like to answer that, Mr. President. It all depends. If you have a secondary contact or a direct contact, there in our process, in our flow chart, if there's some situations where it'll call to close down a classroom for 72 hours, sanitize it, and then clean it on the 4th day, and then return on after 96 hours. That's one situation. Another situation may call for, and it depends how much contact has been around. There's a lot of contact tracing that goes around. And then there's some situations where you have to close the whole school, which we have had. The new guidelines, as I pointed out, is if we get 4 situations within a 2-week period, then that school must be shut down for 2 weeks. And that's something that I didn't choose or don't choose. It's something that it's a guideline that we have to abide by with the orders that we're given right now. So that is a factor that you know, just from my what I've been experiencing, we have 2 right now, 2 schools that are shut down before that under those guidelines, and that could happen again next week or the week after, which could mean another 2 schools, or I'm not saying it will happen, but there's a chance that could. And that in itself would lead us into a totally virtual without even a decision or a board vote.
Yeah, that's why I asked that.
Mr. Perez. Mr. Perez. I'll ask you some questions. The high schools, mid school and high school, they continue in virtual mode regardless.
Yeah.
Correct?
No,
wait a minute, second. The failure rates, the at-risk students that both high schools described are occurring in that setting, and they will continue because we are not going, the state will not permit high school students to return to in-person instruction. What again is your plan to address the at-risk students who are seniors? I heard some interventions from the 2 high schools. Are you prepared to intensify and to be more creative as to what it is you're going to do to reduce down, as Richard mentioned, an astounding percent who are at risk of failing in the senior grades? We didn't even talk about the other grades. What is our plan to address those needs of the at-risk students who are failing classes?
Okay, if I have the right answer to that, I would be across the state right now, because I can tell you every district in the state is struggling with the exact same issue. Some of the things are mentioned already by the principals of the things that we're doing currently. But in addition to that, I briefly mentioned that we're going to pull together a team of administrators. Teachers are too busy with what they're doing right now. Principals are too busy trying to keep their schools in order. But the other administrators, we would like to take it upon ourselves to team up and go out in pairs and deliver, be the messenger from the teacher to the home with USBs, with homework. We even talked about the possibility of food backpacks later on. We want to check on the student and families' mental health, their socio-emotional state. So that's something that I can't say that is happening, but that is something that is being worked on, and we hope to get that up and running in the next few days if we could.
Can you give us a report on the efforts at the next board meeting then?
Yes.
Okay. Another question. You have reported on various closures, and they not really are closing. They're basically going to virtual, right?
Yes, sir. Good point.
So when we talk about, we should not use the word closure unless we absolutely mean it. We're actually saying in the last few weeks, we've had multiple schools return to virtual as required. And so has there been consistency in the delivery of instruction by the district?
Yes, all of them are following the same. It was, if you remember, it's part of our original reentry plan and one of the foundations of that constant discussion is we wanted to be flexible and be able to switch from a virtual to a hybrid model at any point in time, because we knew that this was going to come about someday, and it's here.
Are you saying that even though you jump back and forth on going from hybrid to virtual, that there's no real negative consequence?
Oh, there's definitely consequence, but that's not a decision we make. That's out of our control.
I understand that.
Following the rules.
Now, this is November 17th. And are you stating that you cannot predict that that there will be further more schools going virtual?
That is correct. I cannot predict. I cannot predict what's going to happen tomorrow with this.
But you can. But you do show a trend that there are more incidences that are causing us to have to change the delivery of instruction.
Yes.
And we're relying upon the teachers to cope and adjust to those changes while they are feeling anxious about their own health and safety.
Yes, we have that, and we also have the factor of the families that adjust. So I agree. The inconsistency in the switching is not healthy, and it causes problems with family schedules, daycare. There's just a multitude of issues that happen on both sides of this again.
Could that be virtually or hybrid?
It sounds, I get the social emotional learning seems to be a concerning characteristic of some students' circumstances, regardless of whether they are virtual or hybrid. Am I correct?
That's correct. I think the social emotional learning has really come to the forefront, not only because of the hybrid versus virtual, but I think it's come to life because it is a taxing environment on all of us, and some of us have the tools and the experience to deal with it better than others. But even outside of the virtual and hybrid, it's impacting a lot of lives, not only students, families, community, citizens. But it's definitely a profound concern with our students and staff.
So regardless of whether we've been on hybrid, which you've been for a few weeks, there still exists incidences of students having emotional stress.
Yes, and I think to be very clear, we're going to have that emotional stress and the social emotional big challenge, either hybrid or virtual.
So it was going to be a responsibility for the community and the school district to try and address those issues for those students.
I would like to add, just in all fairness, that those students that do attend, they do have a connection with other students. You know, they get out of the home, they get out of that environment, and they do have their social emotional needs met to a larger degree than those that don't have that opportunity.
But we just don't know how many students are having those social emotional learning needs statistically. We feel that there are some anecdotes from what I heard from Jackie, that there are some students, and I'm assuming that the teachers are aware of which students seem to be having some difficulty with instruction. So what I hear from you though is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is a pattern that has arisen where there are more schools that could face closure or return to virtual because of the incidences of COVID positive contacts by either staff or students, and that do you feel that there's going to be a likelihood that there'll be more incidences of that in the coming weeks?
Based on the incidents the last few days, I would say it's likely that that will happen again.
Okay. Any other comments, board members?
Just one comment, Mr. Pettis, just listening, I get the impression that you're leaning towards more virtual than the hybrid model. And you know how I feel about the virtual. I've never been one for it. I've talked to several constituents who sent their kids back to school, and they're really happy with it, grade wise and social wise. But if you're leaning that way, you are leading the district. We are the board, and we do have to vote on it.
Yeah, go ahead, Dion.
It's a tough vote, but listening to you tonight, it does sound like you're leaning towards more virtual than hybrid.
Mr. Perez, if we were to have the district go to virtual, when would that begin?
We need a little time for adjustment for the teachers and families. I think today is Tuesday. I would think just my thought is probably Monday if we're going to start all this. And that Monday we have no students, so it'll be after the Thanksgiving break. So the Monday after Thanksgiving.
Let's clarify that for me again. We do have class. Do we have class next week?
No class next week.
Okay, I'm trying to find the calendar here.
I got a calendar up here too.
Put it back up on the screen. Oh, there it is.
If we're here, if the board voted to go with hybrid, that would not begin until
November 30th. So that's only 3 weeks in this calendar year.
So there'll be 3 weeks here
And then 2 weeks in January.
actually, you're right. So there's 3 full week,
5 weeks total.
a total of 5 weeks that we're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Board members, any other comments before we get to the action item?
Mr. President, when I look at the numbers, and I understand that, you know, to some 33 doesn't seem a lot, that it only represents 1%. But remember now, those 33 go home to families of 5 and 6. So we don't even have those numbers of how much those 33 have impacted the families in our community. We've already heard from the Cibola County superintendent or director that their services are desperately challenged right now. We have the closure, well, not the closure, but the non-admitting of or intaking of patients at ACL, and now families having to travel distances. And so one exposure can lead to 4 or 5 in a family. And that is one of my greatest concerns, because I'm already seeing it happen. And having to expose those families to not just one individual, but more, especially with Native homes who care for their elderly and the grandparents are living there at home, and having to experience those deaths because one contracted it at a store, at school, at church, whatever, and they brought it home to the elderly. It's a devastating amount that we have to look at. And I understand from Ms. What was her name? Ms. Kincaid, who expressed that fear. And so losing one teacher is devastating to a student, because they're used to that teacher. And then bringing in a sub also adds expense and training. And so there are more things to consider when we talk about just 33 people. And I can't, well, you know my feeling about virtual and hybrid. And because I come from a large family myself, you know, it's upon me to make that decision to stay at home, except for this board meeting. But it's important that we consider all these, the impact, not just on our school district, but on the community-wide. And so I think when we have to decide that should be part of, to be well informed, that should be, we need to consider that data as well. And so we're never ever going to get the full impact through numbers, and we can only hear about it, and we can only see the cases spike, and a lot of it has to do with community spread. And so I just see that 33 cases looming in front of me, and thinking 33, it doesn't just stay at 33. It goes way far past that 33 number. So I think that's important for us to consider. I think that, like Mr. Perez pointed out, and myself included, we're getting more ingenious through virtual learning, through use of computer apps, and actually having fun in the classroom with the students as we do online quizzes and videos and Jamboards and all these new apps that are there. I trust in my staff to continue that continued learning in technology, and to make their teaching more exciting, more innovative, more challenging. I also trust in the principals to see that those students, those seniors that are at risk, to work with them and to help them through this time period. And so I have to give my staff and my principals the opportunity to do that, and where they can feel safe and comfortable in their teaching environment, whether it's virtual or whether it's hybrid. Our teachers need to feel that confidence and that diligence in doing that, and not just stopping and saying, I can't do this. We've also, a lot of us teachers have also gotten to that point, but we stick up our chin and we say, we're going to keep on doing, we're going to keep on striving. And believe me, it takes a lot of dedication, and that's why we have good staff. And I trust in them to be able to carry us through this time period into January. I think we hired them because they had that ability and they had that commitment to our school district. And if I can learn Jamboard and I can learn peer deck and all this other stuff, then the rest of the young teachers are probably surpassing me in that. So I think that's just data and information that I needed to give to the community, to our teachers, to our staff, to our superintendent, because ultimately the decision is ours.
Yeah.
And make that decision in the best interest of our community as well as our school district. Thank you.
Mr. Perez, would you pull up the screen that says higher levels of safety? I think it begins. There you go. These are the positives, so to speak. That there will be higher levels of safety for both staff and teachers. That there will be decreased cross-contamination. I'm not sure. Explain what that means.
Decreased cross-contamination. You're just, you're not mixing people as much.
Okay, within the school setting.
In a school or within a community.
Okay, decreased. Okay, within the community too. Decreased possibility of spreading the virus. Okay, that's true. Childcare becomes less of an issue for staff. How do you mean?
Well, we've experienced this before. When if it's totally, well, this could actually play both ways. If some teachers are allowed to teach from home, they have better, they can watch the children too, especially if they have older kids to oversee the younger ones. That's one situation. You know, technically a teacher should not be paid to be watching their own children at home. That's something that we have to watch out for. We have to be stewards of taxpayer money.
Okay, let me stop you there. If we're going to go to total virtual or remote, then what is the option? Is there an option for instruction, site of instruction?
An option for, I'm sorry.
Site of instruction, instructional site. Are they going to come to the building to provide instruction, or are they going to be, is there a possibility they can also teach at home?
Well, that's gonna be a decision. That's another decision-making series that we have to go through. If it's totally virtual, the last time we did this, we're asking teachers that if they could teach from the school, because they have equipment, they have whiteboards, they have connectivity, proper connectivity, those types of things. There were certain teachers and staff that were allowed to teach from home because they did not have, for different situations, a variety of situations where they did not have the capacity or the internet. So it could get complex. It's not always.
So are you saying you wish to leave that as an administrative decision?
Well, that is what is in place now. If we change it, I don't want to commit to making that change right now tonight.
All right, then that's under your domain as a decision. Am I correct?
Yes, but I do.
Okay.
That is gonna require another conversation for sure.
All right. Thank you. Students and instructional staff are much better equipped with technology. We do recognize that not all students are able to connect. That's still a challenge. But all instructional staff do now have the technology to deliver remote, and that's correct, right?
That's correct. Okay.
And the final one, which is most important, instructional staff have become more efficient and effective with online learning, and that's astounding. Having been a teacher in the past, I know how challenging things can be, but teachers will innovate and will be creative and will seek assistance. And I believe that you have PLC teams where the teachers can support each other in trying to develop more efficiency, more effectiveness with online and learning. I think that's the most critical thing is to what extent are we able to deliver, really intensify and be more effective in doing this. I think that's what we're counting on, is that the teachers will be able to do that in a remote, total remote setting. And you're stating there that you can count on your teachers to do that.
Yes, and I think none of this is a panacea.
Yes.
But I just seeing what I've seen with my own eyes and being and watching the teachers engage with the whiteboards and in the different classrooms, I have a much larger confidence and appreciation for what teachers are doing and engaging their students. They're in their classrooms and doing. I've seen some of them that are hybrid, and I've seen a lot of teachers that were doing virtual from the school sites. But I have to say, in all cases, I won't even say 9 out of 10. I'll say in all cases that the classrooms and the teachers that I saw, we're doing a great job in engaging students, and we're very motivated and excited about their work. So I think that's a big plus for the district.
Okay. You, Dion was pressing you and was trying to get a sense of your direction, and I think you basically stated it in your presentation. You feel that that the circumstances have changed tremendously, that that you cannot predict whether your leadership or the delivery instruction is not going to be impacted further by COVID. I think you indicated that there seems to be a trend towards greater potential positive effects of COVID on students and staff, and that the teachers have expressed their concerns, and they're in the survey that you showed us, and that they would prefer to go to a total virtual remote model of instruction. I think that's compelling. I think that kind of data is another kind of data, but it tells us the how healthy and emotionally healthy the district is. And I believe they feel that they would be more emotionally healthy if they went and improved their efficiency, effectiveness through online remote instruction. That's my take on what I hear. And it's really critical that we pay attention to the ones who are going to deliver the instruction. They're the ones who are going to be motivated and excited and committed and will persevere no matter what. I do not know of any teacher who would say, I don't want to do this because I'm just bored or tired. I think they will all challenged. They all will be committed to every child. They will seek each other's support and try to figure out what to do with students who are at risk. We need to make sure that the high school program, and with your help and your support, that we reduce down the at-risk students who may not be able to succeed, who may be in jeopardy of graduating. We need to really work on that. And so when we come back in the next board meeting, I'd like to hear a further refinement of the plans that we have for those at-risk students who may be at risk of graduation. Mr. Perez, I have no other comments to make. We can go to the action item, unless there's some other comments by board members.
I'd like to make a comment, Superintendent Perez and Board President. My concerns tonight are the ACL closing down. So there's going to be a lot of movement with those folks.
They'll be coming into town.
Coming into town. And then my other concern is the concerns of the hospital, because I got a call from our CEO, Tom Whalen, and they're pretty filled up in the hospital right now. And then the number of cases they have themselves. So, that's just a concern. And, I know Tom supported me when we went to IBRED, and he called me with a different view of what they're thinking and with their staff and medical staff, what their concerns are because of the safety issues, everybody being related in our community. And then also the issues with another concern with the issues of the city with the number of spikes in our community with our police department, fire department. I have a friend from the fire department right now under one of those masks that they have to wear because they're not doing very well. Also, I had a friend of mine pass away with this pandemic, and we've all probably had friends in different situations like this. And, I just have concerns about, what we're going to do, concerns about looking at the safety of our community, the safety of our schools, the safety of our students, our teachers, everybody involved. That's what I'm looking at, Like I said earlier, there's no off and on switch to this thing. And, I don't know who it was, Mr. Jones or Mr. Sandoval. It's a tough decision to make, on these kind of issues. But I think we really need to listen to what our city is telling us, listen to what our hospitals are telling us, the issues that they have, and wanting us to take this decision a different way tonight, just for the safety precaution of all of our community. I just want to say that. So before I make.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Pettis, are we ready unless there's additional comments? Let's go on to action items. A, consideration for modification of the district reentry plan, delivery of instruction. You reviewed, Mr. Pettis. Do you want any final summarization of things?
I'd just like to make a comment that, as Dion pointed out, Mr. Sandoval and Mr. Ortiz, and as I started out, this is a very, very tough decision, and I'm glad that we discussed it the way we did, and it doesn't, you know, ever since I've started the conversation with this in March, I knew we're never going to get everybody to agree on one way or the other. Even though I've expressed the pros and cons of both sides, I just want to express that it's fluid, as I mentioned. 2 weeks ago, you would have found me thinking and leaning maybe a different direction. The last couple of days, it's made me concerned, and not because I'm for hybrid. I don't think that's the best way to deliver instruction. But in my role as superintendent, even above academics, it is my obligation, responsibility to look out for the safety of the students and staff, and if I could be assured that the safety was there, I would think otherwise. But right now, as you thought, I can't make predictions. I can't make assumptions. But I will stand with the safety and of the students and the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Let's get to the motion. If there is no motion, then we remain as we are right now. So we are in a position of entertaining a motion regarding the issue of delivery of instruction. And I'd like to make that motion. I'm going to move that we go to virtual learning through the remainder of the semester, beginning November 30th and up to January 25, 2021. Is that correct, Mr. Perez?
That's what we discussed.
Okay, all right. That is my motion. Is there a second?
I second.
The motion has been made and seconded to go to virtual learning, total virtual learning for the district beginning November 30th until November 30th, 2020 till January 25, 2021, with the board reviewing the decision on January 19th. Any additional comments? If not, then we'll go to a roll call vote. Ms. Colby, would you read it in the order that is listed there?
Yes, sir. Guy Archambeau,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Nay.
Dion Sandoval,
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you, board members. We've made a very difficult decision, but it's a decision that found us discussing all the pros and cons. There are some issues that we need to address administratively, but Mr. Perez will address those. Are we ready for the next motion, next action item, Mr. Perez?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, board, thank you. The next action item is consideration of approval for the 2020-2021 PSFA Capital Improvement Award money. Mr. Lee, are you on?
I am. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Pettis. This award is a 2020-2021 Capital Improvement Award. It's very similar to some of the awards we've received in recent years. It is in the amount of $618,000, a little more than that, to be used towards capital improvement within our district. And so up for consideration is your approval of that award.
Do you have the amount one more time?
It's a little over, I don't have the amount in front of me. It's a little over $618,000. It is in your board packet.
Give us a second, Mr. Lee. Which one was that again? The capital outlay?
It's Capital Improvement Award.
Okay.
And at this point, we're only asking for the acceptance of the award by the board.
We have the MOU, but
It should be in the board packet. The original is with Emily.
it doesn't have the amount on here.
The document I provided had the amount.
Now, is this the, is a project number, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You want us to agree to the scope of work? Am I correct?
It
The
was
project scope of work.
undesignated at the time of award.
Okay, yeah, it's still undesignated. So you basically want to approve us to proceed with the project.
Proceed with the award, and then
Excuse me, proceed with the award.
then I would come to you at a later date with a potential project based on our facility master plan.
Okay, this is this MOU is to acknowledge the award from the appropriations, the grant award, and so forth. This does state an award that you will come back with the additional information, what I understand here.
Yes.
Okay. And the purpose of the project again, the scope of the work?
We have not determined yet. We're going to have to.
In general.
It would be a construction project that would benefit all of our students across the district.
For maintenance, repairs?
Maintenance, repair, or construction, but I would lean towards construction because it is a pretty good amount.
Mr. Perez, I'm trying to locate this and bear with me a bit. What I see here is a 2020-2021 impact aid project. Am I in the right
Yes, this is a
file?
impact aid funding through it's a capital improvement award through impact aid. Now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, then we approve the MOU. And it's not effective until signed by the district and the PS have been approved and signed by the PSCOC.
Correct.
We will sign and deliver this MOU. Okay, so we are going to approve this MOU. Are we ready to do that? But, you know, unfortunately, Mr. Perez, let's clarify, Mr. Perez, the item. It states consideration of approval for 2021 PSA award money. Are we actually approving money or are we approving the MOU?
Yeah, that's a good point, Mr. President. So I'd like to ask a question to Vance. Is there any reason why this would have to be agreed to this evening, or can this go to the next board meeting?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
Can we delay?
Vote on this tonight, or can this wait till the next board?
No, we can delay it. The award came to us much like the award last year. The Impact Award came to us last year. Okay. And I mean, we can wait till next board meeting, or we can do it tonight. Either way.
Well, my problem is that it says award money, and so but we have an MOU, and I think the intent was to do the MOU, but the way it's listed as award. Consideration of approval for 2021 PSFA Capital Improvement Award money.
Correct, and they're kind of doing things a little different with these awards in the last couple of years, where it's an amount of money, and it's not actually like a regular project. You go to the PSCOC and you ask for a certain amount of money for a specific project. In this impact aid, if you will, money, they've been giving a percentage to those schools that are affected by impact aid. So it's not designated at this time. However, we would definitely want to look at our facility master plan and do it based on a priority within our facility master plan.
Yeah, it's unusual the way they described it, the purpose and intent. It's made for the purpose.
Mr. Lee, this is the first time that we've actually got money before we even have any idea how to spend it.
No, ma'am. Actually, the 1.2 million that we got last year, we had 3 priorities. However, we didn't have a single project that we were getting awarded for. It was just a list of priorities, and it was a funding the same way that last year's award was.
But you already have an idea of where you're going to spend this money, I take it.
We have a list of priorities, but we have not narrowed anything down yet. No.
And will you'll bring those back up to us?
Oh, definitely. Yes. Sir.
Okay. So Mr. Pettis, what we're doing is we're actually it looks like their form by which they seek approval is a bit different. We are to approve a project memorandum of understanding, and this enables the district to proceed to create the details of the project. It's really odd.
So what I'd like to do, Mr. President, is recommend to the board that this be tabled or put on to the next board meeting so we can supply further information.
Yeah, because they do say PSCOC Impact Aid Grant Award, but they should have said something more explicitly, saying you are going to approve a memorandum of understanding for the grant award. But the best that we could do was to have stated that it was award money, but that's not going to work for us tonight. But thank you, Mr. Lee and Mr. Pettis. Let's just delay on these two, and also, yeah, let's delay this one to the next board meeting. Mr. Pettis?
Does that require a vote or anything? Is there any process that we need to involve this?
There will be no action taken.
Thank you. So if you're ready, Mr. President, board, the next section is consent agenda. I do recommend that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Oh.
There's a motion made by Emily Ann Daly to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ron Ortiz to approve the consent agenda items as presented, which is bills and expenditure report. The 24107 bar 19 Carl D. Perkins, 24162 bar 20 Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund increase. 24305 bar 21 rural and low income schools increase. 24106 bar 22 entitlement IDEA B increase. 24190 bar 23 preschool IDEA B increase. These are bars, and for those of you who desire to know more about bars, we can have Mr. Perez talk to you later on, but this is a normal transaction that we are required to make these increases in all of these accounts. Is there a motion? There is a motion. Let's vote on it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Motion carries. Superintendent's report.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, I did talk briefly about the STAR team.
Yes.
So I got that covered, but I do want to make a couple of other mentions.
Please.
So the land, I do have to point out that Los Alamitos did a great job on attacking their attendance. A couple of weeks, they brought the attendance into the 90s. I think you saw that in their last report. Just kudos to them. Tomorrow is a meeting. I think this is good news. First design meeting for the construction of the new Blue Water Elementary School. So there's a team of people that will be gathering to begin that process. We just got word that the Chromebooks that we've been forever waiting for, they're on their way. They should be here between December 2nd and 4th. There's 1,505 Chromebooks that should be here. That way we can get those to the students and get the loaners back to the schools. And also, I just want to make a comment to the, before we go to executive session, to the, while most people are on still in the meeting here, I saw a few times during the meeting that a few hands went up, and I just want people to know that we weren't by any means ignoring that. If in the future you would like to get on to board, please sign up before 24 hours before the board meeting. At 2 p.m. the day before, you can get the information to my office, to Emily Kobe. She can get you signed up to speak before the board at the citizens to address the board. And of course, if there's anything that's a request to actually be on the board, then I could bring that to the board president and discuss that. So I just wanted to make a mention about that as well.
Well,
that's what I have. That's all I have right now.
Thank you, audience, for participating and listening. And that's it. All right, executive session. For the public, we are going to go into executive session, and we will, when we return, there will be no action items at that. When we return, we will go to announcements, and then we will adjourn. So those of you who are with us right now, thank you very much. So you may leave the meeting tonight, and best wishes for all of you. Okay, limited personal matters to discuss the regularly scheduled evaluation of the superintendent's performance as permitted under section 1015 1H2 of the Open Meeting Act. We had this on the agenda at the previous meeting, but we decided to put it on tonight instead. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose stated?
I'll move to go into executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Is there a second? Second by Emily Hunt Daly. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act under section 1015 1H2 regarding limited personal matters to discuss the regularly scheduled evaluation of the superintendent's performance as permitted under section 1015 of the Open Meetings Act. This is a regularly scheduled event for us. Let's do a roll call vote. Ms. Kobe?
Guy Archambault,
Here, yes?
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Yes.
Dion Sandoval,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes at 8:23 p.m. We are now in closed set, and we are now going to go into executive session. We will leave this meeting and return in about 5 minutes. So you all may leave this. Dr. Martin, would you close down the site?
We do this one open and we'll. Yeah.
Do we
You have to wait by yourself tonight.
We need to take that. call a Bible?
Yeah, grab one too.
As big as the Bible.
Well, that's volume 3.
Volume 3.
you'll send us a copy of that formal announcement. Look at it, this is- Man,
What kind is it?
it's just a little brown spider. Not allergic, but-
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it goes. There you go.
Oh, I missed it. That's it.
That's what Emily was trying to
I'm
prevent.
trying not to kill me.
Oh, you were doing
Did you see me screaming? No.
Ron's like, you don't have to tell me twice. Spider in the room, right there.
that.
What's going on in there? You guys settle down.
I was trying to save a spider's life and, Ron just killed it. Did you want these back or we get to take these home? I need a doorstop on my desk.
Okay, Mr. Pettis, remind everybody that we're live, so we gotta be careful what we say.
YouTube on too, so.
You're with us, Dion?
Understand?
Okay, yeah, that's Emily. She started it.
Got a spider in the house.
Do we have everyone back yet, Mr. Pettis?
We have, I see, everybody's here. Yes, sir. Everybody's back.
Is Dion back? I don't see him.
On the phone.
He's on.
Okay.
speaker.
All right, fine. All right, the board came out of closed session at 9:12 p.m. Is there a motion to reconvene the open meeting session?
So moved.
So moved by Emily Hunt Daly to open. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ron Ortiz to reconvene the open session. Roll call vote.
Dr. Guyer Shambo,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Yes.
Dion Sandoval,
Okay, the motion passes. The time is 9:13. The only item discussed was limited personnel matters to discuss the regularly scheduled evaluation of the superintendent's performance as permitted under section 1015(1)(h)(2) of the Open Meetings Act. Mr. Pettis.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, the announcements are pretty self-explanatory there. But the only thing I want to add is, you know, they have the annual New Mexico School Board Association meeting about this time of year, each year. Well, it's still happening, and if you don't know about it, it's December 3rd through the 5th. That's the School Board Conference. And it's all virtual. But if you're interested in participating in that, please contact Emily and we'll get you hooked up.
Okay, I need some points. I need some credits. I better attend.
December 3rd.
December 3rd through the 5th.
Can you send us an agenda?
yes.
And also, this time of year that's going on virtually, starting tomorrow is the New Mexico PED Indian Education Department government meeting. This will be all virtual. That summit starting tomorrow. And that'll be, I think it starts at 8 in the morning, if anyone's interested.
Do you have the Zoom, the link?
Emily, if you can get, I'll have that to you all
Send it out to us.
first thing in the morning.
Okay.
And that's all I have for announcements.
Okay, the next board meeting is on the, what day was that? December something.
December 1st.
December 1st.
Okay. Any items that you guys want to get on there, talk to me or Max? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So move Emily Hunt Daly. Is there a second?
Second.
Ron Ortiz seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 9:16.
Bueno, Dion.
You guys all take care. Be safe.
Have a good one.
Stay
Stay
safe.
safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Emily Cove, if you need me for something, you better let me know tomorrow. Signatures. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm closing. I'm leaving. I'll be in Albuquerque all week. But I do have a little time.
Our best.
The 17th, 11/17.
Don't keep track of the date. 20.
Dr. Martin? Are you on? Delta?
Did Emily?
Yes, that is all. Thank you.
Dr. Martin, you doing okay?